Hello, McKenna.
Hello, Ella. We've got lots of people coming in to join us. Really excited for the webinar this evening.
Awesome. Just seeing everybody come in. That number's going up very quickly.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being so on time. Really excited to get underway. Just to make things clear, Ella and I will be your co-hosts this evening. We've received some correspondence from us and chat, hopefully, to come along this evening, and really excited to get further underway. We'll wait a little bit more for a few people to tick in, and then we'll start off with an acknowledgement of country before getting to the proceedings for this evening.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, we'll give everyone a few moments to come in. We've around 200 people already in, which is massive. Thank you so much to everyone that has joined us. Yeah.
And just as a little bit of an introduction for those people who are here so far, I'm McKenna and I'm a university student part-time, working at Climate 200 for about a year and a half now. Really passionate about all things politics and climate, but particularly making sure we get change. Ella's also obviously a young person working at Climate 200. Do you want to give yourself a quick intro, Ella, just for those
Yeah,
already?
sure thing. I'm Ella, I'm 18. I've just finished high school and joined the Climate 200 team a couple days after my last Year 12 exam. So very excited to be here. The past few months have been incredible on this team, and I think we're reaching this final sprint of the election. It's very exciting. So great to have everyone come join us tonight and be part of this. So before we begin, I'd really like to acknowledge that I currently live and work on unceded Wurundjeri land, and I want to extend my respects to all Aboriginal elders who for tens of thousands of years have brought people together on this country, and a special welcome to any First Nations people that have joined us tonight.
Thanks, Ella. And I also want to acknowledge that I'm living on Ngunnawal and Ngambri country up in Canberra. Really be grateful to be living in this beautiful place and want to acknowledge all the elders, both here and across Australia, from the past, present, and those emerging leaders as well. For everyone else, would absolutely love it if you were putting the country that you're calling in from in the chat. We really want to have a super active chat today so everyone can feel really involved in the session we're having. We'll have time for questions, but really great to get underway if you want to put in that chat to everyone the country that you're on. For anyone who's wondering where that is, that's on the bottom bar. You should be able to open the tab and send to everyone the country that you're on.
Awesome. Thank you, McKenna. So yeah, if you have any things you want to add into that chat, please do. We're going to keep it open and active, and there's the Q&A function for any questions that also come in. I'm going to start.
Actually, sorry to interrupt, Ella. Tomorrow, if we could make sure that chat is turned on. The function has not yet been enabled for everyone. Apologies for that, but we'll make sure that's fixed shortly. And when you get a chance, feel free to shout out the land you're on then. Obviously, something important to acknowledge. We'll make sure that tech issue is rectified ASAP. Thanks for letting us know.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Well, it's great to see that people are coming in from all across the country. It's incredible how we can connect online and have people in all different places. So I would love to start off. We actually have Simon Holmes-a-Court, the convener of Climate 200, here with us today. Thank you so much for joining us, Simon. I know your schedule is pretty packed as we get closer to the election, so we're grateful to have some of your time.
Thanks, Ella, and thanks, McKenna, and hello to everyone who's joined. It's fantastic.
Well, I will give some context. Simon and I actually met during Monique Ryan's campaign, so it's nice to chat again. And for context as to where I come from, my background is organising school strikes and being part of, the protest movement. And I think for me, I realised last election being around Monique's campaign that we may as well help get independents elected that are there to stand up for real climate action and vote in Parliament as their community wants, rather than trying to nag the MPs that just aren't going to do it. So I'd love to hear from you. You were just one person fighting for independence and for a better future quite a few years ago now. And now there are tens of thousands of people across the country. What's your journey been like?
Thank you. Oh, it's a great question. Sometimes it does feel like it's just one person. what I realized very, very soon after joining joining in and supporting the movement is this movement started a long time ago. It started in 2012 when a group of people in the seat of Indi felt that they had been taken for granted for too long. They'd been told by their local member that the people of Indi weren't interested in politics, and that really fired them up. And they decided that they were going to turn the seat marginal. They went out to the community, tried to find the best person they could, and they were super lucky in managing to convince Cathy McGowan to run. And they thought they could turn the seat marginal and give the Liberal Party a scare there, but they accidentally won. They won by about 430 votes, and Cathy had to go to Canberra. Turned out really well for her and for the community. The wonderful photos of several hundred people from Indi coming to her first speech, all decked out in the trademark orange of her campaign. And she had volunteers through that office every sitting week, 2 years. So the 2 terms, the 6 years she was in Parliament. And so I walked into, I interacted first with Karen Phelps through, she was doing some work in the refugee space. And I got to meet a bunch of the independents and realize how amazing they were, and see this independence movement move from just being Indi to the next seat was Warringah, when Zali Steggall took on and won against Tony Abbott. And then it just exploded from there. So I think one of the sneakiest things that ever was done was to convince us that we are alone, that when the politicians say, look, I get it, you care about climate's your thing, I get it, but actually we're dealing with the bread and butter issues that affect real working Australians, and the thing that you're in, it's okay, but it's not the main game. So you just be quiet there until we get around to your issue. And this feeling that what you are doing is not the most important thing, so disempowering. I used to think that I was one of the only people in Kooyong who cared, and that I knew some good people, but I thought that basically I lived in an electorate with a bunch of assholes. And then up came the election. I realized that actually we're in the majority. They'd isolated us, but when we came together, we achieved a lot, and I'm seeing that all around the country.
It is pretty exciting. I'm getting excited hearing already about, I guess, the campaigns that we saw succeed, several elections ago, and just the opportunity that we have once again this coming election. There are 35 candidates running as independents supported by Climate 200. So, to go from one in Indi and then Warringah to where we are now is just phenomenal. I guess, what has this taught you about collective action? Like, you spoke about realizing that you weren't the only one and that there are so many more, and Kooyong's such a perfect example of that. Yeah.
Well, it's funny, until I was almost this many years old when I realized that I'd been thinking that politics was I used to think that politics was something done by other people, that there was normal people like us, and then there was the political class who ran the show, and it was inaccessible. It was specialist people, and they sort of, I don't know, that world was not our world. And then I realized this movement taught me that we are democracy. The democracy is supposed to be of the people, by the people, for the people, and we are showing that. We are retaking, like, who are these people who are the major parties? One thing I learned recently is 0.1% of New South Wales is a Liberal Party member, right? That we only know that number in New South Wales because it's the only state where they have to publish their numbers. But if you had 1,000 people in a room, only one of them would be a Liberal Party member. And so the idea that that person has somehow a lockhold on being in Parliament or having control of us for half the time, it just is crazy to me that when we see these mass movements of people, we've shown that, well, I think this movement is taking back democracy for the people, which is how it's supposed to be.
I feel lucky to grow up in a generation where we are seeing the democracy, seeing it come back to life. And I think being able to vote for the first time, I get to, you know, try help elect a parliament of independents once again and get more of those independents on the crossbench and, yeah, not feel like our generation has to go straight to the major parties. We have lots of other opportunities now. I want to ask, you know, you obviously come here with the resources to really support these campaigns financially and with the incredible knowledge you have of where that financial support should go, but not all of us have those resources to feel like we can make an impact in that way, even though lots of us want to. What power do you think someone who has only $5 a week to contribute can have, and how can they amplify that power?
Let me tell you just a quick story from the last election. I remember hearing from an independence office that they got a $7 donation from a woman in regional New South Wales. A $7 donation came through, and then 3 days later, another one from the same person, and then nothing for a week, and then another one, and then the next night, and then nothing for 2 days, and then again, just this sporadic $7 every few days, but not on a regular rhythm, just sporadic. And the independent called them up. You know, it's one thing I love about this movement is lots of the candidates call up every donor that they can and thank them for their donation. So I called up this lady in regional New South Wales and said, thank you so much for the donations, many, but can I just ask, like, why are they kind of sporadic? What's the story? And she said that she was a pensioner and she'd worked out that she could spend $50 a week all the way up until the election, which she said $7 a night. She would she'd watch the news and she'd look through social media, and the independent that worked the hardest should send them the $7. And that, firstly, that motivated so many people within that campaign. And I think about that lady in the story often, about people giving what they can. And there are so many people within this movement that give what they can in many ways. We talk, there's four ways that start with a T that people can give to this movement. There's their time, and you're giving your time right now, and as is everyone else on this call. There's your talent. We have in this movement, there are artists, there are songwriters, there are people, amazing graphic designers and videographers, and yourself, your talent to set up a call, a webinar like this. So that's time, talent, treasure. It costs money to run campaigns. So some people are in a position where they can give give donations. It's tens of thousands have given donations to this movement so far. Some are able to give more than others, but people are giving what they can. And then the last thing is ties, the ties we have to people. So introducing people to this movement, bringing people along to meetings, or saying, hop on a call, hop on a webinar. Time, talent, treasure, and ties are the four things that are helping to enable this movement. So whether you're giving $5, $500, or $5,000 to this movement, you're making a difference. And also, really importantly, you're able to be counted. If this movement was 10 people sitting in a back room giving $10 million in total out to the campaigns, it would have no legitimacy, really. But this is tens of thousands of people who have given to this movement. And that's really a huge difference. Like, think about Clive Palmer. It's one guy giving more than 10 times as much to politics as we are. And people just think of it as a bit of a joke or an aberration. It's not democracy. But what we are doing here is real democracy. So even at $5 a week or whatever, people are making a difference in being counted.
I hear you. Thank you so much. I think some people, to put it into perspective, to hear that whatever amount you can give, it does add up. And I know tonight we have over 300 people already on this call, and everyone has different capacity. So we're going to help fundraise together. We're going to support these campaigns in any way you can. And we've just heard from Simon that everything adds up. It all counts. So it'll be important to remember that tonight. But thank you so, so much, Simon, for joining us. And we've got some big weeks ahead, and I know you're going to be working hard, as will so many other people in this movement across the country. So thank you again.
Thank you so much, Simon. Really appreciate it. And I also want to shout out all the people in the chat who are making such amazing contributions. Julie, giving what you can, even on a pension, so important. Claire, love all your comments. Stanley, Tracy, so many of you putting in such good points. Simon is amazing, but so are all of you, and really appreciate those contributions, whatever people can give, and joining with your time. Thank you so much, Simon. Really appreciate it.
Thanks again, and thanks, Ella. And thank you, everyone on.
We have a few more, lots of exciting stuff scheduled for this evening, but I did want to start us off with another really exciting announcement. We have so many fabulous donors in this community, as we've already talked about. But I really want to invite Nick on now. Nick has been a supporter with Climate 200 for a while, but he's got a really exciting announcement he'd love to share with us. So we'll just promote Nick so you can see him on screen now, and we'd love to have a quick chat to you, Nick. How are you doing this evening?
Hey, McKenna, I'm good. It's incredible to be able to hear from you.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm so glad you can make it, Nick. It's amazing to have such a big room of people. But I'd love you to share with us. You had an announcement you wanted to make.
I did. Yeah, no, I did. I mean, I'm so excited by the sort of work that the Future Leader program is doing, and by seeing so many people in the room, I wanted to encourage people to give what they can. I'm going to match all donations that are donated tonight up to $25,000.
That's amazing, Nick. Incredibly generous, and coming off just what Simon was saying, all of us try and give what we can, and obviously that's a different amounts for everyone, but that 25K is substantial. Nick, you mentioned the Future Leaders. For those of you who don't know about the Future Leaders, we'll go into a little bit more detail later. But what particularly has you inspired here?
I mean, I think particularly at this kind of moment in our politics and in climate policy, something that a lot of us are really worried about. It's really exciting to see young people taking control of their politics. I think Ella said earlier, sort of bringing democracy back to life, and anything that I can do to sort of support that and to get that going is just a great opportunity.
That's amazing, Nick. And look, as a young person, very much appreciated, and it does make all the difference to have a community regardless of your age to be contributing, and I think everyone has that shared feeling of this is incredible, and we can already see in the chat everyone's really excited about your announcement. I'd love to hear, was there anything in particular that brought you to Climate 200 that motivated you to get involved? Obviously that re-enlivening of democracy with youth is important, but are there any particular candidates or things you're particularly excited about Climate 200?
I mean, I think the things that have really excited me about Climate 200 is kind of these two focuses at the center of things, right? They've got kind of this focus on getting integrity into politics and this focus on climate change. And I mean, we've seen how important it is to get some integrity into politics. I think a lot of us sort of had a gutful of what's been going on with our two-party system. And seeing some of the independents that came through at the last election has just been really exciting to see them hold government to account. And I mean, the climate change side of things now seems like a really, really important moment to take action on climate change. I mean, we're staring down the barrel of potentially a pretty worrying 3 years if we don't have a really, really strong crossbench. Particularly with where things are at with climate change. If we want to try and stick to that 2 degrees limit, then we really, really need strong action on climate change. So seeing Climate 200 take action on those two fronts has really been what's gotten me excited about this movement.
Thank you.
Amazing. I couldn't have said it better myself, Nick. And I think as a young person, like climate change is the biggest thing I'm thinking about. And particularly, it's really hard to get change on that if you don't have a government that's listening to you, if you don't have a government that's acting with integrity. And just so you know, you're already inspiring people. Jackie, I think I saw you in the chat saying you're keen to give $25 a week. Love it. Whatever you're able to give, we really appreciate it. So thank you so much, Nick, for joining us. Your words mean so much, and your gift even more. That'll help amplify everyone in the room's impact. Anyone who feels like they can only give $5 is now giving 10. Anyone who feels like they want to give 20 can now give 40. And that's all through your effort. So really, really appreciate it. And thank you so much for popping on to share your thoughts with us as well.
So happy to be able to help. That's all good.
Thank you so much, Nick. It's very generous. And as McKenna said, we can amplify the impact we have tonight. I'm seeing the donations come through already, so it is incredible to see with so many of you on. I've had a look through who's on today, and we actually have a couple of candidates that have joined us, which is very lucky. I can see Sue Chapman from Forest in WA and Jenny Rolfe from Riverina. We can give you a moment to get up on the screen here. So lovely to have you. I know these campaigns are very busy at the moment. I would love to hear a little bit about what you've been up to and how your campaign's going.
Oh, look, thank you. It's, gosh, a room full of 300 amazing young people. And Nick, what an incredibly generous, extraordinary offer that you have put forward. I'm on Wadandi country in the southwest of WA. I have been a surgeon all of my professional life, and I became completely disenchanted with government and democracy and frustrated. The electorate that I live in has been Liberal for 52 years. And so I kind of ended up saying, look, you know, somebody has to step up. We've got a climate crisis in my regional electorate. We've got a housing crisis. We've got a cost of living crisis. And for me, it was a great opportunity. We went through that whole Voices for idea of community listening and community discussion. And out of that, I did a lot of navel gazing and decided to put my hand in the ring to be in the campaign. And it's been a fantastic experience. You know, I'm meeting amazing people. I'm learning so much. People are genuinely interested in change. And that's really exciting to be on that ground and kind of hear that real desire for us to start to bring about action on climate change, action on housing, action on regional health, and particularly for integrity in government. So yeah, really excited that you guys are online, and thank you for asking me to come on board.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Sue. I love hearing all about the different campaigns that are going on, and know, you know, you're representing your community and what's needed there. So it's, you know, important to hear about where everyone's working really hard to make change happen. Yeah.
We have so many donors across in Western Australia too, who we speak to and are really excited that you're running. So there's a lot of enthusiasm from your electorate, and we get to the joy of getting to speak to a lot of those people. But really excited to hear some of your background as well. Lovely to get to have that chance. So thank you for coming today.
That's an absolute pleasure. And if anybody online is in the Forest electorate, we'd love to have you on board. You can just go to the webpage and let us know that you're around, and we'd love to see you at one of our events coming up. There's pickleball on Sunday, so come along.
Sounds good, Sue. I wish I was close enough. I'd come for pickleball. And we can also get that link in the chat as well, so people can navigate to your website if you're in Western Australia, keen to get involved, or just want to check out Sue's website as well. Jenny, for those of you who don't know, Jenny's in the electorate of Riverina, which is currently held by a Nationals member you may have heard of. So that electorate is currently held by Michael McCormack. So I'm keen to know how you're feeling on the ground, Jenny. What's your campaign like?
Well, I'm feeling a little disappointed that my volunteers haven't organised pickleball. I think I need to add that into the mix for getting people along. Look, we have an amazing electorate. We've got 52,000 square kilometres and 18,000 kilometres of road to cover in a very diverse electorate that has recently had the boundaries redistributed. So we've lost some of the very conservative parts of Riverina, and we've gained Yass Valley, we've gained Snowy Valleys, we've gained Upper Lachlan and Burrawa, which are beautiful parts of the world. And it's been an incredible privilege to get out on the road and to meet people and to talk to them about their concerns and those local issues that need federal solutions. So things like, as we all know, you know, housing affordability, even in the regions, if not more so, because we've seen some of the impacts of particularly tree changes into our regional areas. Things like cost of living, access to healthcare services, and while that crosses over with state responsibilities, you know, we have towns where GPs have packed up and moved on, and there are no local GPs, which means, you know, residents are travelling for kilometres to access very basic care. So there's a lot that needs to be done here, and I think a lot of people are feeling very disillusioned with the lack of representation, and they're looking for something that will actually connect with them and means that as a regional area, we have a genuine voice in federal parliament. And it's really exciting to have gone through the Together for Riverina process and to be endorsed as the candidate. And yeah, I'm absolutely loving this so far.
That's amazing to hear, Jenny. And you've got some big supporters in the chat already. Kate's pretty excited for it to switch over. So fingers crossed for you, but great to hear that the process is also amazing and that listening is really important. Community campaigns take time, they take effort, they take volunteers, they take care. And all of that is an amazing part of the journey. Really appreciate you both logging on and coming today, but also giving us a bit of an insight into those electorates as well.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anytime. We have another exciting thing we want to share with you, which is we didn't necessarily know such amazing candidates would be online today. So we wanted to be able to also show you a bit of a campaign video to get an idea of what is going on the ground. Ben Smith is one of the candidates that you may or may not have heard of. He's on the Mornington Peninsula of Victoria and has a really excellent campaign set up. So we'll queue up that video for you to see just a little insight into what some of these campaigns are looking like and what they're able to communicate for their communities.
Awesome. Thank you. We are going to see that video in a second. I might actually throw to Byron. I think the Executive Director Byron has just joined us. Are you available to have a chat to everyone about how you think these campaigns are going, Byron? We might have to wait a moment for that, but the video of Ben's campaign is pretty incredible. I think we've been hearing, we've heard about two different campaigns and heard from Simon a bit earlier about Indi and Warringah, and to really give perspective as to where these fundraising efforts go and just the amount of effort and love and care that really goes into making a campaign succeed and getting these candidates out there. There are so many volunteers behind these campaigns, and it's amazing to have people online, whether you're in the electorate or not, where there is an independent running, we can support these campaigns from wherever we are. So there are leaders that have put their hand up to run as these candidates, but as Simon said earlier, we really do all play a role in making change happen, and to see so many people connect from all over the country and from all different ages is amazing. I'm seeing so many exciting messages come through this chat and the donations are rolling in. I am blown away already by how much we've raised, and we're going to keep you guys updated with that as we go on. That video of Ben is just here.
Unfortunately, I don't think we can hear that video, but correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but otherwise I think we might persist and I can give you a little synopsis of Ben instead, but you can see a bit of the vision as I talk through that as well. Ben is amazing. He's pretty excitingly Victorian Father of the Year last year, so we get a lot of real community sense from these candidates, but also has worked as in a not-for-profit where he's dealt with issues like housing insecurity and financial insecurity. So really has that first-hand experience of supporting a community. And I think that's a incredibly exciting part. Jenny touched on this as well, really important to communities at the moment. So very keen to hear a little bit more about a lot of those campaigns as we go along tonight.
I wanted to note there's a pretty cool statistic that now 1 in 4 Australians have the opportunity to vote for a community independent this election. If that just gives you context to, I guess, the scale of how many campaigns are being supported, this is, massive to go from the very beginning. 2012, I think, was when Simon, I guess, we started this conversation, and we had the campaigns in Indi happening and then Warringah, and to now be at a chance where 1 in 4 Australians can vote for an independent is massive. Yeah.
And I'm sure many of you have communities in your electorate. Always love to hear it in the chat. As we said, Ben is from Flinders, but so many electorates have independent candidates, which leads to a lot of potential for what the future looks like as well, but hopefully a really strong crossbench this time around. Sue, did you have something you want to say? No. Oh, good. No, that's okay. I wasn't sure if you popped on with something to add.
I'm seeing some questions come through. We have a question about donating directly to local campaigns, you can look up your local candidate. There's a beautiful candidate directory that exists. You can find on the website, and you can see the 35 different campaigns we're currently supporting and all the information about them. So I'd highly recommend, if you want to find out which campaigns, they might not be your electorate, but nearby, if you're willing to go check those out and spend a few hours volunteering or door knocking. Otherwise, Climate 200 supports all these campaigns, so we can assist them all from wherever we are.
And one of the excellent things is that Climate 200 is also able to collect a lot of these donations and spread it out to different campaigns where it's needed as well. So any way you contribute is really fantastic to the work we do. We're going to move on for a moment to talk a little bit more about specifically the Future Leaders program. The Future Leaders program, as Nick talked about before, is a group of young people working at Climate 200. And I'm really excited to share sort of what that vision looks like. But first, as we're rapidly sort of getting underway, I'm aware it's useful to have a little bit more context on who Ella and I are standing in front of you. So I've been on the team at Climate 200 for almost a year and a half now. So I'm been the longest in this position on the team as a young person at Climate 200, and have been really inspired by the opportunity of so many amazing people working within this organization, but also people in communities on the ground. I grew up in a beautiful place in Tasmania, in Clark, which the keen ones of you will know, that's Andrew Wilkie's electorate. So grew up with a great love of the outdoors, but also a bit of an eye to the capacity that independent candidates have to make a difference in those sort of communities. And when I found out about Climate 200 a little later on, I thought it was the best opportunity to be able to elevate even more people in the community and make this something that was really accessible for a lot of communities to achieve, give them that capacity to be able to continue have more action on that federal level as well. I'm sure many of you have similar stories of how you've come to Climate 200. Would love if you'd share those as well. Obviously, we've got heaps of people in the chat, which is amazing. So sorry if not everyone is able to be replied to, but love to hear all of these stories that I can see. So go ahead.
Okay, thanks for sharing. I'll give a bit of context as to who I am. I said earlier, obviously, when I was speaking to Simon, that my background is from the school strike movement, and I guess I was 12 years old and kind of saw that young people were stepping up to, say to the government that we weren't going to stand for this inaction on climate. And last election really paid attention to what was happening and wanted to see real change. And I think I've felt really inspired by the independents that got elected last election. And I have watched this past term as a high schooler, and now will be able to vote for the first time, and seeing that these are the people that should be in Parliament. Like, these are the people that are going to represent their community, and they're there for the right reasons. It's hard to, build protests up, and when I came from that background and experiencing, fighting against politicians who are funded by the fossil fuel lobby, it's pretty hard. But when we know that we can help support community independents who are backed by their community and by everyday Australians, that they're there for the right reasons, they don't have those vested interests, and that's the type of people I want to see in Parliament. So that's why I'm here supporting them.
Thank you so much, Ella. And I think people have such different backgrounds coming to the movement, which is so exciting, particularly people who've never been in politics before, which I think is definitely a beauty and an asset in the way we can engage a lot of people. I think the particular angle with which we came to this Future Leader program is the idea that Ella and I aren't unique. It's not there's one or two people, young people who care about politics. It's actually a lot of people, whether they're young or old, are engaged and care. And in fact, 1/3 of people don't vote for the major parties. And so what that leaves is this big sector of society who feels pretty unfulfilled by Liberal or Labor or, whatever those conventional mainstream political options are. And there really needs to be a space for those people. And I hope that's a space that we're able to find here tonight and that you guys are able to find in Climate 200. But that's also a space we wanted open to young people. Obviously, there's the capacity to go to young Liberal or young Labor or any of those sort of conventional pathways. But so many young people don't feel like that's the right option for them. So over the summer, Climate 200 sent this massive call out to bring on some young people who are keen to get involved in helping campaigns, helping raise money and fundraise for this election. And the response couldn't have been more incredible. We had almost 100 applicants and 10 of the best young people from across Australia really keen to get involved, and worked with us over the summer. Having worked at Climate 200 for a while, I had the absolute pleasure of training and mentoring these young people, and helping them have conversations with people in the community. I'd love to hear in the chat from some of you guys if you've heard a call from one of these future leaders. I think I heard someone before say they'd talked to Ella last year. I'm sure I've talked to a bunch of you as well. Would love to hear some of those experiences. But I did also want to share some of those top level reflections that we've had. And that's that this is a space for people who are feeling failed by politics, regardless of their age. And that's something that is not different if you're from a different electorate. It's not different if you're 90 or if you're 19. It's something that really brings us together and makes these conversations incredibly meaningful. And I also wanted to take a moment to say a really massive thank you to all those people who on this call who have talked to one of the future leaders and have had that opportunity to engage, because that's not only meaningful for you, but it is really meaningful for us. And having had the experience of working with the future leaders and helping them, it was a great transition to see people go from feeling powerless, a bit disengaged with politics, but really wanting a difference, to feeling powerful. And that was because of the conversations had with you guys, the conversations where you told them you shared the same fears about Dutton, when you shared an anecdote of why climate matters to you, or where you gave $20, $500, whatever it is within your budget. All of those experiences are really meaningful. And I think what brings this sort of community together in such a beautiful way. Would really love to, hopefully the tech on the videos is working, because we'd love to share one of those future leaders with you. Katya was a future leader who came on to us and actually ended up on the project. So for those of you who haven't seen that video yet, she's an excellent young person who was able to speak to these issues, I think, incredibly clearly. We'll see if the audio works on that one, but no worries if it doesn't. We'll just give it a second to get up. But in the meantime, I wanted to say, as well as Ella, I'm so impressed by how many people have donated. We've got lots of exciting things yet to come and yet to chat about, but appreciate that so much so far. We'll give time for Katya to have a little talk now, though.
Really sorry, guys. Zoom is misbehaving and wanting my password to put this video up. So give me a couple of minutes and we'll get it up.
No worries at all.
I am seeing some questions come through. Someone has asked, what tips do you have for tapping into the youth vote? And I think obviously as young people, we're going to be I know I'm going to be the person having conversations with lots of my friends about the election coming up. And I think I would say that it's pretty common across all demographics at this point to feel pretty disillusioned by, engaging with politics and, going out to see who your local candidate is and attending their events is unlikely to be what my friends who have just finished uni are doing. Lots of young people are very passionate and do care a lot, but voting for the first time is definitely an experience for lots of people to learn and have to engage more so with who their candidates are in their area. I think that it's really important to be talking about the issues that matter most, and we know the cost of living and that the climate crisis are these top issues. And I think explaining that the importance of community independence that are there to represent the view of the community, and to, as young people, for us to know that these community independents are going to listen to the issues that we care about is how we're going to see real change. I know young people my age who have come along to school strike protests and, care deeply about the climate crisis and know that we're never going to be able to afford a house, and so many costs, that the cost of living is going to affect us significantly at moving out in any time soon. And so these issues deeply affect us, and it just means that these next few months are going to be about engaging young people on the issues that matter to them. And I know for me, seeing Monique Ryan's petition on HECS debt last year was a big push for so many young people that are deeply affected by HECS debt and planning to go to university now or in the coming years. And so seeing an independent like her put that up was definitely a big push for young people to support.
And with Australia heading into another climate election, a group of first-time voters is gearing up to fight the fossil fuel lobby head-on. Katya Jaluk is part of the Climate 200 Future Leaders program and joins us now. Katya, what do you think about Australia possibly stepping back from the Paris climate agreements?
Look, I think it's pretty clear that Peter Dutton has been mirroring Trump's strategies for a while now. They're both leaders who have built their careers on denial and division and challenging scientific consensus. So the Paris Agreement was already a bare minimum commitment. And my generation is expecting climate policies that actually match the science.
So part of the opposition's climate pitch is a nuclear power industry in Australia. Is that something you'd support?
I think the whole nuclear plan just sort of reveals how the fossil fuel industry operates. Australia already runs on 40% renewable energy because it is the cleanest and fastest and cheapest option for us. CSIRO have told us that nuclear energy will take until 2040 and that it'll be the most expensive form of electricity generation for us. So it's pretty clear what's happening here. It's a classic fossil fuel lobby tactic. They're proposing expensive, complicated alternatives to keep us hooked on coal and gas for as long as possible. They can see that renewables are winning the race, so they're trying to slow it down.
So this seems to be the problem. How do you then take on the fossil fuel lobby ahead of the election?
Yeah, so I'm working with the Future Leaders program as part of Climate 200. We're 10 people from across Australia, from different backgrounds, but we're all united by our dissatisfaction with our current political system. So we've established our Future Fund, which is a direct challenge to the fossil fuel lobby. And we're kind of showing that young people can campaign, we can build power. And the feedback we're receiving has just been phenomenal. I mean, I had one lady on the phone the other day pick up her card and donate while she was breastfeeding. So people are pretty committed to this.
Katya, I've got to be honest, listening to you speaking so eloquently, and at 17, my only concern was winning Super Mario Brothers on Super Nintendo, which is probably a sentence you don't even understand. But have you always been so passionate about this?
Yeah, I think it's always been in the back of my mind. But where I'm from, the Blue Mountains, we experienced the Black Summer bushfires in 2019 to 2020, and that was just devastating for some parts of our community. I mean, just 30 minutes down the road from me, there was complete devastation. The speed and the ferocity at which the fire came through, it was brutal. It was totally unprecedented. I mean, meanwhile, the fossil fuel companies were making record profits and they were donating to campaigns to delay climate action. And that's when it kind of clicked for me that our system was entirely broken. And yeah, I wanted to be part of the solution.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Katya. We really appreciate your insight. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
That one's just an incredible video. For those of you who haven't seen it, I've seen it probably like 10 times at least now, including live. And every time, Katya's just awesome. Yeah, incredibly impressive. And I'm sure many of you, she speaks to these issues more eloquently than we could, which is pretty impressive. Oh, sorry, go for it, Ella.
No, I would love to bring up Byron, has now joined us, and I think he's ready to chat to everyone.
Not quite there yet.
Not quite
Yes,
there yet.
yeah.
All good. Well, the comments coming in about Katya are just amazing. I feel very inspired watching her, and I know we're a lot closer in age, but there are so many young people that really do care so deeply about this coming election. We know it's about our future, and it's there is a lot of work to do, and we're going to do everything we can. And we've seeing the donations come in today and across this Future Leaders campaign that's been happening. It's amazing.
It's great to see. Oh, awesome. So glad you could join us, Byron.
Guys, just here with my little future leader, Charlie boy is here. It's a great session and just so awesome to see everybody, and thank you so much to the Future Leaders for everything you're doing. It's just been such a great program, and you know, often we're asked in this movement, you know, where are the youth? And it's so clear that here the youth are in the Future Leader program. And, you know, this election obviously matters. It's a big one for climate progress in the country. And it's just been so inspiring to see young people stepping up and taking a leadership role. So Ella, McKenna, this has been a great session already, but thank you so much, all those who've gotten involved and all those that are donating to support what's going on here. And I think in the last, since Monday, we've received 2,500 individual donations to Climate 200. So this is really a moment when the community is stepping up and getting behind independents all around the country, 35 now and counting, and they're standing up on these issues that matter and that the major parties are too scared to really engage with and touch. And thank God for it. So thanks so much for having me. Good to see you all. And Charlie's inspired to be a future leader next time.
I can't wait till he's on the team. He'll be awesome. Charlie, everyone can get excited for Charlie on the phone to you, chatting to you about the latest issues coming up. But thank you so much, Byron, for joining.
Thank you, Byron.
We do want to shout out another future leader who isn't able to join us today. But we have so many of these future leaders, and as it's been mentioned in the chat, we'll hear directly from a few more of them soon. But I wanted to draw attention to Evie. Evie is a future leader who came on to us just in the summer before starting Year 12. I'm sure many of you remember how stressful Year 12 was, and there's a lot going on. But in her first week back at Year 12, I think she really took that message that Nick and Simon talked to heart about how we can all give whatever we can. And she ran a bake sale at her school. And through that bake sale, selling $1, $2 cupcakes and cookies, was able to raise $500 for Climate 200. I think that's, you know, incredibly inspiring to what all of us can do. And on the screen, you can see some really cute photos of Evie. I don't know about you guys, but I would love one of those cookies in that middle row. And I think it's just excellent to see how these future leaders, maybe like Charlie, are not only inspired to be involved in campaigns, but go further than that and continuing to see how they can contribute. So many people in the chat have mentioned being involved in climate activism and the environmental activism for 50 years, for their whole life since uni. And I think Evie really demonstrates that could start early and can be whatever you can give. I'm really, really excited to say that already 40 people on this call of the about just under 300 people we have put through a donation. And I really, really appreciate that. But I really would love if everyone in this call was able to give something. And I want to acknowledge, we've talked a lot about cost of living issues. We've talked a lot about those things being really difficult. But what I want to encourage everyone to do is not make a massive donation. Thanks, Byron. Make a massive donation, but $1 or $2, a symbolic cookie or cupcake from Evie's bake sale. We'll make sure that donation link is back in the chat. I think to keep those numbers really high of how many people are giving across the country, across electorates, whether you're on a pension, whether you're on a limited budget, $1 or $2 for a cupcake or cookie to double that amount that Evie's been able to contribute would mean so much.
And I think it's important to say that every single dollar raised goes directly to these campaigns. Like all the money we raise over the phones and everything we raise tonight is going straight towards the campaign. We're going to be getting t-shirts, billboards, placards. Like this is where the money's going. And as we heard from Sue and Jenny earlier, these campaigns need it. And this is what's going to get them across the line and get their votes up and close those small margins we talked about earlier. So, just seriously blown away by the donations coming in. But now is a very exciting time that I'd actually like to invite a couple of the future leaders onto the screen to hear a bit about their stories. You've heard a bit about McKenna and I and a couple of different guests we've had on about how they came to, you know, be a part of this movement. And there are really such diverse voices within this movement. We have people from all across the country and are supporting, I think it's half of our candidates we're supporting are regional, rural, and half are metropolitan. So it's amazing to see just how widespread that is. And we've got young people from all across the country as well joining us. Yes, we'll have them come up shortly. It will be great to kind of get for you guys to hear some of their stories. You might have heard from some of these people over the past few weeks as they've been calling. So send a message in the chat if you might have chatted to one of Manny, Liam, or Sophie. Thanks so much for joining us. I'd love for you each to kind of introduce yourself. Do you want to start off, Manny, and then Sophie and Liam?
Yeah, sure, sounds good. And it's incredible to see the turnout for tonight. So thanks so much, everyone, for coming. I'm Manny. I'm 19. I'm originally from Melbourne, but I've moved up to Canberra for uni. And I guess one fun fact about me is that I like to follow and play ice hockey.
I'm Sophie, and I am in Sydney on the North Shore, and I joined the team in November. And a fun fact about me is, I mean, I love to travel, and I just want to save the beautiful things that we have that we can see.
Hi, everyone. It's so exciting to be here and great to see so many of you on the call. My name's Liam. I am 30 years old, so I'm slightly pushing the border of young, I think. But I'm coming to you from Ngunnawal Danbury land in Canberra. Yeah, I grew up here and love being outside and in the beautiful nature that we have here in the nation's capital. Yeah, fun fact about me is I come into Climate 200's from a background in climate science, and I have a PhD in a field of climate science. So that's where I come into it.
Thank you so much. We'll be calling you Dr. Liam from now on. Let's start off with Manny. I'd love to hear, I guess, what motivates you to care about climate action and care about supporting the independents.
Yeah, well, great question. I think, unfortunately, the reality is that it's not really a choice for me and my generation. I think that, a lack of climate action and the consequences that would have just poses an existential threat to my generation's livelihood. And so, it's not an issue for the future. The impacts, they're real and they're ongoing, whether it's, the wildfires in LA in the middle of winter, or, I'm from Victoria, of course, and we saw the bushfires, the devastating bushfires in the Grampians. And so, yeah, I think, it's not really a choice, but it gives me as much motivation as possible to try and address that through hitting the phones and talking to everyone here.
Thank you for sharing, Manny. I definitely, having seen the bushfires in the Grampians quite recently, has definitely shaken me and, taken us back to that Black Summer, which was quite frightening. Hey, Sophie, I'd love you to, I guess, share something that you might not have expected about working from here, or an experience you might have had that being in this professional workspace, having recently finished uni.
I think one of the most interesting things and what I love about our team, and it really feeds into the Future Leaders theme here tonight, is how much we all learn from each other, from like right at the top of the organization to us, all the young people on the phones. Our manager makes it really clear that what we do on the phones every day when we're fundraising is helping everyone. It's really feeding into all of the insights that we have all throughout the organization. So there's a really great space to be able to share and learn from each other in the organization and outside from independent campaigns as well.
Thank you for sharing. I would definitely agree that we're always learning. I think, we have meetings every day and learn something new. I definitely appreciate Dr. Liam over there with the climate science expert in the group. Liam, I'd love to ask, I guess, you obviously come from that background of climate science. Why did you make the switch from science to working with Climate 200?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. So I was really researching and learning about climate science for probably the best part of 8 or 9 years, really. I did my undergrads here at ANU, and then went on to do my PhD overseas. And during that time, I realized that society, we have known everything that we need to know to act on climate change for over 60 years, if not longer. The science, it hasn't really changed a whole lot in that time. And we actually have all of the technology and the solutions that we need to deal with the climate crisis. And really the one thing that is holding us back is the political will to follow through on those changes. And I think that politicians, they're very risk averse and have a habit of being short-termist. But what we know from Australia is that the majority of Australians really care about climate action, and they really care about seeing progress made on this issue. And we just need better representation. That is the key to unlocking everything that we hope to see and realize for Australia. And I think that the work that Climate 200 is doing in putting a better standard of politician into Parliament, and putting a politician that is not beholden to vested interests, but to the communities that they come from, will be such a game changer on realizing everything that Australians hope for to see in returns to that climate action.
Thank you for sharing, William. I am grateful that you're now here with us in this space doing the work you do. Sorry, my lights keep flicking on and off. I'd love to hear from you, Sophie, that, you've just finished your undergraduate degree in social and political science. I'm wondering, what do you reflect on as a key practical difference between what you're taught about politics and what it's really like?
I graduated with a social political science and a digital social media degree, which I think is very interesting because in the social political sciences aspect of it, we spent a lot of time looking at issues in society and researching those issues and finding problems and talking about the problems. And there wasn't that much focus on the solutions. And my digital social media degree was very solutions focused, very innovation focused. And I think that what we do here at Climate 200 feels a bit more like an innovative solution to a lot of the problems that I was researching in my social political sciences degree. And I think, the funniest part of it is that it's not really innovative because it all goes back to community, and it feels funny to be saying it's innovative, but it really is because it's changing the established systems that we have in our politics nowadays. And I think that by bringing back those community focuses to our political system, it is, I think, changing the way that I thought that I could interact with politics.
I agree. I think, you put it simply, and it really is simple. It's about community. I've just seen message come through. It's Julie thanking you, Sophie, for helping out with her grassroots campaign. And Sophie has been doing massive work helping grassroots campaigns run their own fundraisers all across the country. So, one person is able to support campaigns that then can connect to all their networks. You're doing amazing, and we're very impressed with just how many campaigns you're able to support yourself. And we're seeing that support come through on the chat. So all of that to you. Manny, I'd love to ask, I think one of the issues I know you like to talk about is integrity in politics. I want you to share just some of your perspective on lobbying in Parliament.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it really goes to just a basic principle for me about what politics should be about. I think that, elected politicians, they should represent the interests of their constituents, the people who they represent, and not those of the coal and gas lobby and all these lobbyist groups around Parliament. And, I was reading an article one time and I just heard this staggering statistic that, for every one politician in Canberra, there's about 3 lobbyists in Parliament. And that was just shocking for me. And so I really think too that integrity goes to the heart of so many issues. I think that the influence, for example, of the coal and gas lobby, these mining corporations on politicians is really restricting crucial climate action. But on the flip side, I think that there are so many independents who are looking towards promoting integrity. So I'm from Monique Ryan's electorate of Kooyong, and that's actually how I got involved in this campaign. I volunteered for her back in 2022, and it was incredible. But to hear, for example, about her, policy, the Clean Up Politics Act, and how that would sort of seek to regulate these lobbyists and actually sort of demystify what they're doing, I think it's great. So there's a lot of cause for concern there for me, and I just think it's an issue that touches so many other things. So that's why I'd say, yeah, it's really important.
Thank you both, all of you, so much for sharing. We want to see real people in Parliament, and we know that young people are going to work hard to help make this happen over these next few weeks. So thank you all for what you're doing. We are going to now hear from the incredible campaign royalty, Louise Hislop, who's joining us. Louise is also on our team, so a pretty diverse team coming from quite different backgrounds, but lucky to have Louise join us. She started organising her community in 2014 because Tony Abbott was her local member. So Louise, we would just love to hear about your experience and what your journey has looked like.
Yeah, thanks, Ella. Well, as you said, I started quite a long time ago now, so more than a decade. And look, what I would have done to have a Climate 200 movement back in those days, it would have been awesome. But yeah, my kids at the time were, similar ages to what you future leaders are. And I was going to bed at night so worried that my local member was taking every opportunity to wreck climate action. And knowing that the power was really only in the hands of the people of Warringah, there was really not a lot that other people could do. So at that time, I just decided I need to do something. And, you might ask, how did you get involved? Well, there was nothing to get involved in, so I really just had to make it up. Yeah, so I could go on for hours about all of that, but I won't at this time.
Thank you for sharing, Louise. I would just love to, I guess, find out, we're obviously raising money tonight and we are seeing so much come in. I'll give you an exact update shortly, but the money's coming in and I guess you know where this money goes and why it is so important. You said that, getting Tony Abbott out and securing that was in the hands of your electorate and in the hands of your campaign. So why does this funds make such a difference?
Well, the money is the difference between being able to make a proper strategy for your campaign. So I ran one in 2016 with James Matheson, the Australian Idol star, and we really had no money, and we had to make up the whole thing as we went along. We raised $35,000 over the 6 weeks that we were campaigning. But then when we had Zali's campaign and we knew we had a certain amount of money, we were able to put a proper strategy in place. And I can't tell you how important it is to this early money that comes in at the beginning enables the campaign to know that the things they want to plan can be done. So there's lots of things that have a long lead time. For example, the direct mail outs, the billboards, the ads on telephone booths, wrapping your vans in campaign colours. These things all take time and you can't do it 3 weeks before the election. It needs to be booked in and designed and created and printed and all those things well before. So this early money is unbelievably important. But the other thing it does is it calms the campaign. So the worst thing you can have in a campaign is panic. And I think having a nice strategy that you have the ability to reach calms the whole campaign down and absolutely makes it easy, not easy, but it makes it possible to win.
That's what it's all about, making it possible for these candidates to win. I think once a group has gotten to the stage where they have a candidate to run, and we're now in the place where there are 35 candidates running this election, there are, 1 in 4 people across this country can choose to vote for an independent. It's about everyone getting behind them. And we said it at the beginning, Simon said it, and, we saw Evie raise $500 from her bake sale. Any amount adds up, any contribution adds up and goes directly to these campaigns. And that's what enables the campaigns to succeed and to see Tony Abbott kicked out and see real leaders elected. I would just love one last question for you, Louise. What do these next few weeks look like? What do you think is the most important thing to happen before, pre-poll opens and it's election time?
Sure. Well, my time at Climate 200 is going to be one of the most important jobs I've ever done, I think. I think we've got this one opportunity now. This is the moment where we're going to make or break our democracy. We're just staring down the path of Trumpism. But on the other hand, we have the possibility of a really strong crossbench, hopefully holding the balance of power and getting some really good policy outcomes. Personally, I think this is the most important election in Australia's history. And I think we all, especially working with these future leaders, they are just absolutely incredible. And on election night, I want them to be celebrating and to be looking forward to their futures. I think we all have a responsibility and a duty to do absolutely everything we can to make sure we get the results we need at this election.
Well, thank you so much for all the work you do, and you've, gotten this movement started. You really have been a trailblazer, and it's a privilege to be able to work with you over these next few weeks and have you up here today to, chat to everyone and tell a bit about your story. So thank you so much, Louise.
Thanks, Ella.
Amazing. I'm so touched by what you've said as well, Louise. And all the people in chat are so supportive of your work and appreciative of all you've done, and really keen to have you in the team now.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Yeah, I want to take a moment now to reflect on how many different people we have playing and contributing today. We've heard from Evie, a story of Evie, we've heard from Nick. Shows there's a real range of ways to get involved. If you're feeling strapped but are able to put in that $1, I appreciate you so much. If you're feeling you're able to give more, and any of that is so appreciated. And we want to share a bit more of an exciting news about the sort of fundraising goals we're aiming for in Climate 200 at the moment. I've seen a couple of people in the chat asking questions about what campaigns are looking strong or what money is needed to make sure things happen. And so I want to go into a little bit more detail about that now and share some exclusive insight with you guys as well. So before we saw that campaign video of Ben Smith in Flinders, and I wanted to let you know that this is actually one of the key seats we think is important to watch. The Australian Financial Review released an article pretty recently listing this in some important seats to watch. But we also think that Mornington Peninsula can be a really exciting seat for a couple other reasons. So we have received some exclusive, exciting polling from that Flinders electorate, which is not yet shared with the public, but would love to be able to share it with you today as well, before we get underway for fundraising. And that's just that we've received the polling to show that when people in Flinders know that Ben Smith is running as an independent candidate and have heard he's Victorian Father of the Year and hear he's standing up to major parties' and vested interests, that puts him in a winnable position. I think this articulates a lot of what we're fighting for in this independent candidate movement, is that there are so many amazing candidates that people are energized about and keen to vote for, but they need their names out there to make that happen. And that's why Louise was talking about that early money for flyers, that early money for billboards. That's what makes a difference in a campaign. So incredibly exciting that Ben could be in a position to win this seat. But that only happens if people know about him. And for people to know about his platform, we do need more money for advertising. So I want to take you through a little bit of a deck to explain what some of those fundraising goals look like, acknowledging that we're surpassing them already. I'm sure if you guys have clicked back on that link, I'll do a quick refresh now. We're at 70 donors from this room. So nearly half the people in the room have contributed. I really appreciate that. And that's putting us close to $20,000. So I want to step you through a little bit of what that sort of money can achieve for a campaign like Ben in Flinders, which is where we want to be able to direct this critical support at this time. So $1,000, some of you were able to give $1,000 yourself. What that leads to is 50 volunteer t-shirts. That's people on the streets going to the grocery store and seeing that there's Ben Smith and that that's a community member that others care about, and that's sort of social proof. There are yard signs, obviously driving down the road, you're able to see this, past that goal as well. We'd be able to get 1,000 yard signs at the sort of fundraising you guys are doing today. But we can also get even more volunteer t-shirts, and continuing to surpass these goals is incredibly exciting. If any of these goals look like something you'd personally want to give or aim for, that is amazing as well. with about $5,000, we can put up 50 real estate sized signs. These can go on major roads and can really attract a lot of attention that way as well. But lots of ways to make a really big impact. The one we're most excited for is some massive billboards. So these are billboards that the electorate of Flinders needs in order to be able to get Ben Smith's profile out there and have him known by that community. They estimate there are about 40,000 cars every day on this road. So for $9,000, we can pass that target. And beyond that, if we'll click 2 slides more, there's an even bigger billboard for $20,000. And as you guys will know, clicking on that link, pretty close to 20,000 now. I think we're at about 19. Not a mathematician, but you can put together the maths here that any amount we get beyond that is even more we can raise for this community, even more of a profile that we can give to these incredible independent candidates. Victorian Father of the Year, working in housing, all incredibly impressive. I reckon we can keep trying to push even further, reach that 20K billboard, maybe get some more t-shirts, and even possibly push as far as both of those billboards. Incredibly exciting.
It's incredible to see how much we've raised so far, and I know that, you know, supporting Ben's campaign is really getting these billboards out there is going to make the difference. I'd love to shout out a few big donations that have happened. Tracy donating $1,000, Joyce donating $1,000, and Rachel with $500. These are getting bigger donations, and it really means a lot to see this money come in. And I know that Ben's campaign is going to use that money and get his name out there. So I think he might be joining us a bit later. So it'll be amazing to give him the good news that we're able to support in these ways. Yeah, very exciting.
Absolutely. So much of Climate 200 money is able to be directed to the campaigns that need it most. And this is one we know needs that money now for them to get those impressions out there and get people knowing about Ben. Well, you didn't see that video, but we can send that later if you're keen. And he's pretty awesome. As Ella said, Ben will be joining us later in this call, and we'd love to announce all we're able to give to him in support. So if you're sitting on the fence, if you're not sure if you can give, now's the time. As I said, $2 for a cupcake for Evie is just as impactful as giving $1,000 to get 100 yard signs or 50 t-shirts out there. Whatever you can give, we're very grateful. As I said, 70 people have already given. We have about 230 in the call now. So if you do want to chip in to give that $2, very much appreciated. If you want to reach towards some of those goals, would love to see that as well. So really appreciate all of that.
We are now going to see a very exciting video. I think we've heard a bit about some of the future leaders in this team. Hopefully this video is going to work. Maya is one of the future leaders that joined us over the summer. She actually volunteered in 2022 on Zoe's campaign, then joined as a future leader, and then this billboard showed up in her electorate. So I'm going to show the video and hopefully she'll explain it all for you.
Hi, I'm Maya and I live in the Goldstein electorate. There have been billboards popping up in my area lying about my MP Zoe Daniel, so we did some digging. Turns out the coal lobby has funneled $725,000 into organisations responsible for this scaremongering tactic. So what does this mean? It means they're scared. They're scared because independents like Zoe are a threat to their control over Australian politics. I don't know about you, but I'm sick of cowardly politicians hiding behind these dirty campaigns. That's why I've joined Climate 200's Future Leaders program to try and raise $725,000 to combat the amount that the coal lobby donated and help the independents set the record straight. So please donate today and help my generation build a better future.
What I think this Maya video is able to speak to so beautifully is the impact of billboards. Obviously, these aren't good billboards because they're spreading misinformation, but it is something that's seen by a lot of people in an electorate and seems really simple, but makes a massive difference. These billboards are able to get those impressions up and have more people see them across the electorate. But also importantly, I think some subtext of that video that I think is important to draw out is these billboards are being taken up by the Liberals, by the Nationals, by Australians for Prosperity as well, which shows that any of these billboards we can get in the electorate of Flinders and across the country is billboards that won't have Nationals, that won't have Liberals, that won't be funded by the fossil fuel lobby. And I think that's incredibly empowering to have communities, to have $5 donations, taking back that power and showing what they want in their communities and showing what they stand for. I also want to shout out, we've had 5 more donors since I announced that amount, and we've just ticked over past the 20,000 amount. So that's at least that massive billboard we can get. And remember, for 5,000 more dollars of donation, Nick's still jumping in to match that. So we can get even more if people are able to chip in that little bit. Really value everyone who's done that so far. And if you want to give another 50, jump in there. But for anyone who hasn't given yet, anything you can is so appreciated. But feel free to ask questions as well if you do have questions about donating. We're supporting lots of electorates around the country, and it's really incredible to see that support for all of these communities.
I think we're actually very lucky to now be joined by Ben, whose face is going to be all over these billboards, campaign placards, and his name all over these t-shirts. Ben's going to be coming up soon to tell us a bit about how the campaign's going. You've just been at a Politics in the Pub event, haven't you, Ben?
That's right. So good to see you all. Absolutely. We just finished up here in Dramana, one of our little towns. We've been doing 30 events in 30 days, and I think the team are keen to do another 10 or something over the next 15. So, yeah, it's been incredible to see the impact on the ground and so many people keen to see a change happen in politics. So super keen to see the amazing work that is happening on the ground.
Your campaign's looking incredible, Ben. I love the t-shirts looking great, and your social media presence has been amazing. It must be a new skill to learn how to film all those videos and get your recording skills well prepared. What does the campaign need right now? Like, where are you guys at?
Yeah, look, we're in a real sort of growth phase right now. So we've sort of moved from, we're continuing with our sort of candidate ID, or like we're, so that people can understand who I am and what I'm standing for with the community. But we're kind of moving now into a new phase where we really need to reach so many more people. The impact that things like billboards and conversations with people and sort of, making sure that our ads are just spot on is really important. So yes, I'm learning a lot about how to do selfie videos. It's one thing that I've really learned in this process is to just be comfortable with my face being in a lot of places. My daughter, who's only 6 years old, on the way to school in the morning, she's like, one more dad and one more dad. And so I think a lot of her friends are playing the how many dads can they spot on the way to school. So that's really fun.
Oh, that's sweet. I think, for your daughter to just see that this is about the community and to, have her dad running to represent the community and stand up for what's right in Parliament, she must be very proud. It's great to see, I guess, all the different types of candidates we're supporting. A bit earlier, we heard from Jenny Rolfe and Sue Chapman, and who are both running as well as in it as candidates. So, we're supporting a lot of candidates, and I know your seat is one that has a really good chance at winning this time round. What do you think the people of Flinders are hoping for at this election?
Yeah, look, I think it's a really interesting seat. It's been held by the Libs for pretty much forever. I think once it's been in the Labor Party's hands. And I think the consistent thing, aside from things like cost of living and housing and all those environmental concerns that we all hold true, the one thing that I'm consistently hearing is we don't feel heard. And for me, like when I hear that, and what happens when people don't feel heard is that they disengage. And when people disengage, it's quite easy to be taken advantage of. And so I think, fundamentally what I'm seeing is that when people don't feel heard and they feel taken advantage of, that their vote doesn't matter and that things can kind of happen without them being in consulted or involved in the conversation. So I genuinely think that people want to be involved and they want to know the outcome of their vote is being, rewarded in the community. And so I think people want to see change in a good way. They want to see a fair share of funding, and I'm really keen to sort of do what we can to make that happen.
So exciting. I'm just seeing in the chat, Claire has said that there's no safe seat, and I know you said the Liberals have held that seat for a very long time, but we know that there are no safe seats and you have a really good chance at winning Flinders and being their representative in Parliament and ensuring that they are heard and that their community is being listened to. So all the best with your campaigns. And these next few weeks are going to be very busy, and hopefully the ones after will be busy with you up in Canberra.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ella. And I just want to say what an incredible job you all are doing in the Future Leaders. I'm so impressed with the leadership that you're providing and the real voice that you're giving to so many generations, not just your own. I think it's really powerful, and my hat goes off to you. I won't do that now because I've got hat hair, but I'm just so enthused by the work that you all are doing there at Climate 200 and the whole community. So really grateful.
Thank you so much, Ben. We're all going to play our part. I know Byron earlier, his little one, Charlie's one, and he's going to join the Future Leaders team eventually. So maybe your daughter will join us at some point as well.
Absolutely. She'll be keen.
Thank you so much, Ben. And a big thank you to everyone in the audience who's now at 80 donors who've contributed and are helping that billboard go up for you, Ben. So there'll be even more spotting on the road for your daughter on the way to school, and hopefully many more cars who get to learn a little bit more about you as well. And for anyone keen to give to Ben, giving to that same link that we've been using this whole session will help funnel that money directly to Ben's campaign. Make sure we can get those billboards, make sure we've got people in t-shirts all across the electorate, and really make the difference we have to really get up for you, Ben. So really appreciate you taking the time to join us on your busy evening.
I want to, just before you hop off, Ben, we've actually just hit 25,000 already on this call. Amazing. We've officially hit Nick's matching challenge. At the beginning of this call, Nick came on and told us he would match 25,000.
Wow.
So incredible to see. If everyone can keep going, we can get some more billboards out there, and I'm going to be excited to chat to you about this tomorrow, how much we can support you getting those signs out and getting your name out around there in Flinders.
Legends. I've got goosebumps on me. So grateful. You guys are champions. Love your work. Love your work.
Thank you so much, Ben, for coming on. And I want to give a big shout out to Connie, who just donated 2,000. That is a massive donation, and we know it's going to go straight to these campaigns. Every dollar right now is going directly towards Ben's campaign. So we're going to see great stuff.
And giving that directly after chatting to Ben as well makes a real big announcement for him to be able to see that as well. Any donations beyond this point still make a massive difference. So if anyone hasn't contributed, obviously any amount is massive. But congratulations to everyone who's been a part of being in the room. Even if you're in the room and haven't felt you have capacity to contribute, being here, being in the chat, sharing that information with friends is all incredibly valuable. But we're going to hear, just before we head to wrapping up, we want to hear from another fantastic person who's contributed to Climate 200. We're spoiled for fantastic guests today, so I know there are lots of questions in the chat, but really great to have you all here. We want to bring on David, and David is one of our older donors. I know many of you in the chat have been sharing your age and sharing how long you've cared about climate. David is in that same boat with you. David, I'd love to hear about the matching challenge you contributed to last year. I remember calling people for that and getting a lot of excitement. Do you want to speak to that, David? You're still on mute, so there should be in the bottom right corner if you want to give. Ah, got it.
I'd like to say something, yes.
Fantastic.
Well, what were you going to ask me? Sorry.
No, that's okay, David. I just wanted to share with everyone that fantastic matching challenge you helped with last year. Like Nick, you were able to contribute a larger amount. Do you want to tell everyone what that amount was for and what it was celebrating?
Well, yes, I had an unexpected windfall. No credit to me, nothing that I had done, but a fair lump of money came to me. And I realised that I was about to turn 94. There's something about 94 as a figure. You can divide it by 2, but that's about all you can do with it. And I thought we can do something with that. So I had for a long time been a $50 a month subscriber with Climate 200. So I put my hand up to say, if other people will put up $94,000, so will I. And the fact is, people put up $94,000 in 8 days. They don't know me, but they were intrigued by the idea. And I, not only that, but as we got to there, somebody else put up $10,000 and said, if other people will match my 10,000, I'll put 10,000 in. Darn it, in the end, we got very close to $250,000 out of my 94. So that enabled, at $50,000 a head, and we're talking now about, I think it was May last year, that enabled Climate 200 to get going, subsidising a whole lot of 5 or 6 people that were already kind of accredited to go. I thought that was very positive, and that was as people have said, that was an example of early money. It's like yeast, it gets things going. It gets a bandwagon going.
Thank you so much for sharing, David. I was thinking just how incredible it is to have you on here. And I was like, we've had a 1-year-old and now a 94-year-old. That's pretty amazing for a Zoom call to have such an age range. And I think
a definite night for intergenerational action, which is what we've achieved. And David, a couple of people in the chat, Marty has remembered contributing to that campaign of you for $94,000, and so many other people have spoken to the effect of these matching challenges and how you're just able to keep that momentum going. So thank you for bringing that this evening and sharing a little bit of that story with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, David. At any age, we're going to play an important role. We all got to do it, don't we?
Amazing. We're getting near the end now, and we really appreciate everyone for sticking around for so long, but we are aware you've got evenings to get back to. So I wanted to really do a massive thank you again to everyone who's been on the call, but also share a little bit more about what we're doing going forward and how we can continue this momentum in the same way that David did.
I've got some very exciting news. We've really been doing an incredible job raising funds over this event, past hour and a bit. So it's amazing to see the funds that have come in. And we've hit Nick's target, but we've just been told that we can get another 20,000 matched from a different donor. So she's gonna match up to another 20,000. So if you're happy to give a few more dollars, whatever amount you're willing to give, it's going to add up and that amount's going to be matched, which is very exciting. I'd at the same time like to shout out Anita's donation, Liz, Michael, Patrick. The donations are really flowing in and we are super grateful for that. We know that this money is going directly to campaigns, directly to getting Ben Smith's face over every billboard and placard in every street across Flinders. And to help win some seats across this country.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ella. And that's really exciting news to have come in. So absolute shout out to the person willing to extend that challenge in the same way as David said. Once the ball gets going, it doesn't stop. And these campaigns are the same. The momentum around Australia is the same. I want to ask you all a small favor to take part in continuing that ball rolling. And that's to share this on with other people. Simon talked at the beginning about those 3 T's of ways you can contribute. And one of those was your ties. We've got a little SMS we'll put in the chat and you can edit it to suit you. But what I want you guys to think about is one person in your life who you think cares about integrity the same way as you, is fed up with politics in the same way as you, or really wants climate action for their kids, or is a young person who cares about this in the same way you do. I want you to take a text like this. Feel free to copy the one I've drafted up or write your own and share the link that we have with someone else. There is $20,000 more to be matched, and that's something that your friends can help contribute to. You can message your friend and say, hey, I gave $5 to this because I care about it. Why don't you as well? And that's one of the best ways to continue to amplify this impact. So if you can think about anyone in your life who'd be happy to receive that message, it'll keep the momentum going and make such a big difference.
I want to give some more shout outs as you send those texts. A big shout out to Isla, to Hugh and Di. The donations are coming in and it is massive. Like, it's been an incredible night and we have heard from so many people across this movement, across so many ages. And we really wanted to spend this night bringing people together and connecting people from across Australia from different backgrounds to say we're all in this fight together. There are people like Ben, like Jenny, like Sue, who have put their hand up and been selected by their community to run and to represent their voice in Parliament. And so we're able to help raise these funds. Every dollar raised over this event today goes directly to the campaigns, and it's all about getting their names out there and getting their names on the t-shirts, their faces on those billboards. It's all happening. So we've hit 85 donors right now, and it's amazing to see just how many people in here can have the capacity to donate, no matter what amount that is. If it's a few dollars here and there, it all adds up.
Thank you so much, Ella, and to all people in the audience today. You're continuing to be lively in the chat, which I really appreciate. But I also wanted to take a moment to reflect personally as well on what this evening means to me. Having worked in Climate 200, for, as I said, a year and a half now, but feeling disengaged or failed by politics for longer than that. And the energy of having so many people in the room, I think, is paramount. These energies absolutely need, these campaigns absolutely need our support. And having so many people, whether you're able to donate or not, who are keen to be involved, are keen to share this message on with others, are able to give what they can financially, it makes such a difference. And it's so heartwarming to know that so many people care and to be surrounded by people who are passionate about these issues. And so thank you all for joining today and sharing that love, sharing that passion. Keep in touch always with Climate 200, and we're happy to share any resources that are helpful to you to connect to campaigns near you or anything like that. So thank you very much, everyone, on a personal note, for making my evening and also sharing that love as a community with one another, but also with these campaigns with people like Ben, Sue, Jenny, who've shared their time with us this evening.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. I am seeing the donations continue to come in, and I hope you're sending that link to friends. I think it's hard to sometimes capture so many people online, but we've had hundreds of people join us over this entire event. And you know, I finished high school at the end of last year, and I've chosen to spend these next few months dedicated to supporting these campaigns and doing everything I can. I'll be voting at this election for the very first time, but no matter whether it's your 20th time voting, your first time voting, whatever it is, every single vote counts, and every dollar we can give to support these campaigns, to get their names out there, to get the 1 in 4 people that can vote for an independent to go and vote for their local independent. That's what we need. That's how we're going to see change, and how we're going to not have to lobby MPs from being on the streets to fighting for climate action, but get MPs who genuinely do care about climate action and who care about their community and what their community needs. So thank you so much for seeing the love come in on the chat, and it does mean a lot. Thank you. Alrighty, well, thank you so much for such an incredible evening. We've raised over, let me just check the numbers now. Oh my God, in the past few minutes while I was talking, we've raised over
closing minutes, absolutely. Curtain closing, and people are keen to get in there. Must be you guys have good friends, quick on the replies, and are continuing to give.
Incredible. Yeah, over $30,000 now we've raised over this event. So if you can see what so many people coming together really does. A big shout out to Andrew with a big donation. It's going to be doubled, and it means a lot. Even more coming in from David, who just spoke earlier. Incredible. You've done so much. And it's all adding up to help make these campaigns really happen. So thank you.
And to remind you what an impact that makes, that 30,000 on your own, everyone in this room, that's all 2 of those massive billboards. Once you factor in Nick and the matching, that takes it to 60. And that is enough for billboards. That is enough for t-shirts and so much action on the ground. So I hope you all feel incredibly proud of yourself and really glad to have joined today. It means so much to us.
So yeah, thank you all so much. Once again, we can send that message in the chat again for you to forward on to your friends. Remember to go do that after this call. We're going to be on the phones for these next few weeks. We're going to be hosting more events. I highly suggest getting out to your local candidate if there is one in your electorate or nearby. But the work is happening. We're all going to play our part no matter what age we are. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. The message has been sent again, so make sure you copy that and send it to a couple of friends after this.
Thank you so much, Jenny, for sticking around. And keen for events, check out the website. Reach out to Climate 200 via info@climate200 email, and we'd love to hear from you. We'll end the call now, but thank you very much, everyone. Really appreciate you taking the time to be here today and sharing so much love with us. Oh my gosh, I love all the love in the chat. Thank you, Claire.